Blog Talk Radio.
From WBRN Radio in Boston and on the Boston Red Network. The title of this episode, The Scoutmaster, on the 2nd of August 2017. It is the story of the Boy Scouts and DJ Trump. DJ Trump spoke to the Boy Scout Jamboree in West Virginia, and let's go to a little bit of it in under 2 minutes. It says this is from CNN, and then we'll be back with the rest of the story, so to speak. And there was a long history of speeches by presidents to the Scouts, and this was just one of those speeches. And let's get, here we go.
Who the hell wants to speak about politics when I'm in front of the Boy Scouts, right? The Scouts believe in putting America first. You know, I go to Washington and I see all these politicians, and I see the swamp. And it's not a good place. In fact, today I said we ought to change it from the word swamp to the word cesspool, or perhaps to the word sewer. But it's not good. By the way, just a question. Did President Obama ever come to a jamboree? Boy Scout values are American values, and great Boy Scouts become great, great Americans. As the Scout law says, a Scout is trustworthy, loyal. We could use some more loyalty, I will tell you that. Do you remember that incredible night with the maps? And the Republicans are red, and the Democrats are blue. And that map was so red, it was unbelievable, and they didn't know what to say. And hopefully, he's going to get the votes tomorrow to start our path toward killing this horrible thing known as Obamacare that's really hurting us. So he better get him. Oh, he better. Otherwise, I'll say, Tom, you're fired.
That was DJ Trump speaking to the Boy Scouts at the Jamboree. Now, this Jamboree is not only for the Scouts from the U.S., but it is an international event that he was speaking to. And as you heard, he spoke about such things as the election, one of his favorite topics, and also at the same time about the Affordable Care Act, period. And he went on to say here, the press will say it's about 200 when it's 45,000. I don't think that is debated. Who
the hell wants to speak about politics when I'm in front of the Boy Scouts, right?
We get rid of DJ Trump. We'll go here to the Charlotte Gazette. We use them a number of times. Their estimate of the crowd there in West Virginia. It's the Boy Scout Jamboree. It was a record attendance, no doubt about that. And this is CNN talking about various things that DJ Trump said. President Obama, incidentally, appeared at past jamborees via video conference. And nonetheless, he was there, but other presidents have also appeared at jamborees in the past. This is not something new from Harry S. Truman on. Let's see if we can Trump addresses the Boy Scouts. This is the Charleston, Gazette Mail. We use them. Pulitzer Prize-winning newspaper, no doubt about that, by Jake Zuckerman, staff writer there. And this is in Glenjean. He spoke, this is DJ Trump, at the National Jamboree, weaving between offering life advice to the troops following the Affordable Care Act's repeal effort, taking shots at the media, and taunting, of course, his campaign. Speaking at an outdoor pavilion at the Summit Beecher Family National Scout Reserve, flanked by his various cronies there, including Rick Perry, the Energy Secretary, Tom Price. He called out Senator Shirley Moore Capito, incidentally, who did not vote against the so-called Skinny Act there, but she went along with the crowd. He lobbed insults at the media throughout the speech, stating that they would lie about the number of troops in the audience. They are dishonest, and not show footage of the 40,000 people in the crowd. He also made note of the Electoral College victory in 2016, To his resounding cheers, fellow candidate Hillary Clinton to a wave of jeers. We had a tremendous disadvantage in the Electoral College. The popular vote is much easier, he said. New York, California, Illinois, you have to practically run the East Coast, and we did. We won Florida, we won South Carolina, North Carolina, we won Pennsylvania, and we won. He did not specify who we, the Boy Scouts, and most of the attendees were below voting age. That figures. He said those in the audience on Monday should find what they love to do in life, start doing it, and not lose momentum. I think he should get that to himself. Though most of the Scouts dress in uniform with their troops, several Make America Great Again bucket hats and baseball caps could be spotted in the crowd. DJ Trump is the 8th American president to speak at the event. G.W. Bush is the last to visit in 2005 when the event was held at Fort A.P. Hill in Virginia. According to figures provided by the Boy Scouts, 40,000 scouts, venturers, explorers, volunteer staff attended this year's Jubilee, representing all 50 states, international scouts representing 60 nations at the Fayetteville County Reserve. So in other words, there were a number of people there, and at this West Virginia situation here, they had one Boy Scout here, Michael Scheibels of Barrow, Ohio, wears his Trump campaign cap. Fellow scouts waited in line on Monday to see DJ Trump, but of course these young people are not old enough to vote. So a little different situation there with DJ Trump. I'm trying to get the official statement from the Boy Scouts, who were literally embarrassed by it. Here we go. This is from Newsweek. The Boy Scouts of America is disputing President DJ Trump's claim that the group leaders told him he was the greatest speech that was ever made to them. Speaking to the Wall Street Journal, the president said his speech was unusually political for a Boy Scout event and had been praised by group leaders in a transcript released by Politico. I got a call from the Boy Scouts saying it was the greatest speech ever made to them, and they were very grateful. By the way, I'll be the first to admit mixed. I'm a guy that will tell you mixed, and I have no mix there. I'm not sure what he's talking about. The Boy Scout leaders were forced to apologize for Trump's remarks after he boasted about his election victory, criticized former President Obama, discussed New York parties with the hottest people, and appeared to dispute the claim they told Trump he gave the greatest speech. The chief Scout executive's message to the scouting community speaks for itself, the organization said in a statement seen by Time, referring to an early statement from the group's chief executive, Michael Serberg, that apologized for Trump's remarks or comments. For years, people have called upon us to take a position on political issues. We have steadfastly remained non-partisan and refused to comment on political matters, Serberg said in a statement on July the 27th. We sincerely regret that politics were inserted into the scouting program. He added, the president's claim he drew record crowds to the event. Indeed, the reports appear to show a huge crowd of at least 35,000, but drawing unfortunate comparisons with his team claiming his inaugural was the biggest in history. So, in other words, you have these types of things out here. If you know, the Boy Scouts were embarrassed by this, and they should be embarrassed by it because of the manner in which he did. And this is from Newsweek. Trump's Boy Scout speech is Nazi Hitler Youth Rally, left says. And this did look like that. DJ Trump brought his bombastic politics to the Boy Scouts event in West Virginia. Cheers from children gathered at the event and prompting comparisons between his rousing rhetoric and Nazi youth rallies from some activists. The president's first sitting commander-in-chief to address the group says G.W. Bush. Anyway, this stuff Trump said, I tell you that as I spoke, the crowd chanted U.S.A., U.S.A., applauded, prompting some critics of the president, who has the lowest approval ratings in modern history, compare his rhetoric to the Hitler youth wing of the German Nazi Party. The scouts must distance themselves from this offensive attempt to politicize scouting and turn them into a Trump youth organization. That's from Richard Penta. He's Vice President of Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington and the Chief Ethics Lawyer in the White House under G.W. Bush. Trump reminded the crowd of his victory against Hillary Clinton in the November election. He reminds people all the time. Do you remember that famous night, November the 8th? Trump asked. He said his ascendancy to the White House was an unbelievable tribute to you and all the other millions and millions of people who came out and voted for Make America Great Again. Well, the poor Boy Scouts couldn't vote. Did the president ever come to a jamboree? Boy Scouts yelled in response, no. Yeah, I guess he was talking about President Obama. The Boy Scouts of America said in a statement after the speech that the organization did not endorse Trump or any position, product, service, political candidate, or philosophy. The group has a tradition of inviting sitting presidents to address its annual meetings. The sitting presidents serve as Boy Scouts of America. That's why we call this the Scoutmaster. Honorary presidents, long-standing custom, to invite U.S. presidents to the jamboree. Trump brought his operation here. Boy Scouts include this Zinke, Rick Perry and his Rock, and Rex Tillerson, who served as the group's president from 2010 to 2012. President Obama was a Boy Scout. DJ Trump was not. Now this tells you lots about what was going on. He attracted support from white nationalist groups in the past, has repeatedly been compared to a Nazi leader by his critics. The Nazi Party targeted German children, who helped to spread its propaganda message, at one point counting more than 4.5 million members before Joining became mandatory in 1939. Trump's supporters launched a group called Trump Youth last year, also drew comparison to Hitler's youth. A video promoting the group refers to a worldwide parasitic enemy, a code in the Nazi propaganda for Jews, out of a nation that has been commandeered by an international criminal cartel. This parasite is feeding off of our energy in Japan, in China, in Germany. It's America now. If you don't throw this parasite off of our backs, the world will fall into chaos. That's from the leader of the Jamin Lardy. Said in a video message, the forward reported, other critics of the Trump administration have said it is offensive to compare presidential politics to Nazi image and tactics, although the candidate has said a number of disgusting things compared to Hitler is too farcical. Well, I doubt that. Anyway, this is so farcical that it's dangerous. This is from Jonathan Greenblatt, CEO of the Anti-Defamation League. That was in 2016. Mr. Greenblatt, unfortunately, didn't understand where Mr. Trump and his Hitler Youth Corps was actually going to. Anyway, nonetheless, let us move on here. We have sport, and we also, let's cover the latest adventures of DJ Trump. Evidently, DJ Trump dictated let's see, we have, this is from the Washington Post here, in Minneapolis, response to police shooting of a European woman by Somali officer has been different. Let's see, Kim Handy Jones stands in front of a meeting room in a working class portion of southeast Minneapolis. Large pictures of pieces of butcher paper labeled body cams accountability training hang behind her. In the months since a police officer shot and killed her son in a neighborhood in St. Paul, has met regularly with dozens of longtime Twin City advocates. But this meeting is different. The room is full, and some nearly 80 people present have to stand. Handy Jones, who is an African American, paused and bowed her head, displaying the intricacies of her braid hairdo. Now, most of you all were not here when my son was killed, but this is my life, my human life, not black or white, not just my son or your neighbor. It's Justine's death. It's Justine, incidentally. Duran was a woman killed. This is Minneapolis, nearly 2 weeks after the city's police officer, Mohammed Noor, fatally shot Justine Daman, an Australian woman who moved here in 2015. Incidentally, she was born in Tehran. Her father was an American citizen, which she would be an American citizen. Her mother was Australian. They later moved to Australia. You get that back there. It's become a city divided. The usual loyalties that blinds are strained, and the ideas have tended to unite, namely equal justice under the law, and has become a source of pressure, forcing new alliances and fusions. In the shooting aftermath, the police union has been largely silent in defending one of its own. The city's mayor, a European female facing difficult re-election bid in which policing has become a primary issue, has demanded and received a resignation of they have a European female police chief. That's not true. The woman was a Native American and an Aboriginal. Sometimes we have to get things straight. The Somali leaders have distanced their community from Noor, expressing dismay about the news coverage and political chatter that's tied one Somali officer to the action of an entire community and culture. And while some European residents have long been engaged in calls for police reform and advocacy, their numbers have substantially grown. A shift in Minneapolis reflects a national debate about officers' use of force. And the issue that became inflamed, this is where we bring DJ Trump in a speech, excuse me, that was on Long Island. He told them not to be too nice to suspects and said they should protect suspects' heads when putting them, shouldn't protect them when putting them in squad cars. Said Trump was joking. I doubt if he's joking very seriously. The Twin Cities has experienced contentious police shootings before. The death of Philando Castile, which has a fight over the $3 million settlement now. Castile's father from St. Louis wants to share $500,000, which he won't get, who was shot on a traffic stop in a suburban St. Paul. The victim was white and a police officer involved. Okay. But the response to shooting has been different. John Thompson, a local activist who shouted down the mayor, Betsy Hodges, and demanded her resignation during a news conference after DeMond was killed, said he welcomed newcomers to the cause. Thompson has involved last year after the shooting of Castile, his friend and co-worker for 11 years. Thompson, who is an African-American, considered Castile's death and jury decision to acquit the officer involved in an indelible stain on Minnesota. He was disturbed by the way Castile, a man who was called a loving father, who liked to play chess and video games, was too often portrayed as an armed and dangerous weed smoker of cannabis. But now the Minneapolis cop has killed a beautiful white middle-class European lady. They don't know how to vilify. Thompson says European people, or as opposed to call them white people, are outraged. And you know what? I say come on, because we need their voices. We need their white power. We need their white privilege. We will not be ignored, and nobody's going to try. DeMond, who used her fiance's name instead of Rosinski, I think that's how I pronounce that, was a trained veterinarian surgeon, a yoga teacher, widely described as kind and cheery. In the area screen porch of the brown brick house, which she shared with her fiance Don DeMond, is a 4-foot statue, a water feature, and multicolored pillows marked as a meditation speech. In the moments before she was killed, DeMond dialed 911 in an attempt to help a woman she feared was being assaulted in the alley. A search warrant, filed in the case notes that an unidentified woman who could have been DeMond slapped the back of a police car seconds before a Nord fired. I doubt that. Orange signs have appeared around town warning easily startled police. Robert Bennett, an attorney. Now, this is not the Robert Bennett of Washington fame. Drew irony of many police reform advocates last month when he described Justine DeMond as the most innocent victim he'd seen killed by police. The comment, he said, was a reference to the way DeMond would be viewed in the general public in Minnesota's predominantly white juries, no doubt about it. Bennett, a stocky, energy-packed European who wrestled for Notre Dame, has practiced law for more than 40 years. He represented the relatives of Philando Castile. Okay. An 11-pound POW that Cart hangs in his office wall. The sharpest point of it, anyway, I'm not sure what all this was. Nearly a $10 million check paid after Bennett won the settlement for clients killed by city workers and police officers around the Midwest. So evidently he has quite a presence in the Midwest. The usual dirty tricks and convenient rapid leaks from the department and the union about the victim aren't possible here, Bennett said of Damon. On the other hand, race has a lot to do with who does and who does not have a criminal record in this country. Back at the meeting of Police Reform Group, John and Jean Sutton are taking seats in the rear of the room. The Suttons, who are Europeans, live 2 blocks from Damon in the Fullerton neighborhood in the far southwest of Minneapolis. I'm here to satisfy my curiosity. Minneapolis is home to 414,000 people, mostly white according to the census. About 19% of the residents are African, and the share of the city that is foreign-born is 15.5. That's pretty high. Tops the average by a few points. Minneapolis is also home to the country's largest Somali population. The Mayor Hodges acknowledged that she has been more frank about the need for policing reform since Damon's shooting, but she says she learned some things during the protest investigation of Mr. Jamar Clark. That's in 2015, a man murdered by the same police force. I cannot avoid what I believe to be right because who is involved and what questions will prompt my motivation and sincerity. Last year, the police department started requiring officers to wear body cameras. 3 days before the death, local station KSTV reported that the average Minneapolis police officer had uploaded no more than 6.1 hours of footage each month. They have an interim chief who is an African American, Orlando, announced a strict mandate that all officers must activate their cameras when responding to a call, initiating a traffic stop or otherwise. The head of the police union, who's a fascist, who until now has been silent in the aftermath of the shooting, described Adondo's order as a knee-jerk reaction. Adondo declined to comment for this report. In email to the Washington Post, Noel, president of the Federation, said he would not comment on the Damon shooting because he doesn't want to create a problem for Noel, for Mohammed Noor. Has previously been concerned of activists who point to what they say are indications of a racial amicus, a racial discrimination suit filed by the interim chief, Arandu, and 4 other African officers claimed that Noel had made racist statements, and several excessive force complaints against Noel claimed he used racial slurs while choking, hitting, and arresting suspects. These complaints were dismissed or found to be without merit, and vehemently, they were fixed up. Nikema Levy-Pound, a civil rights attorney running for mayor, an African-American, said that she has been heartened by the speed at which Damon's mostly European neighbors had connected her death with systematic police problems. That may be all that stands between the city's police department making a scapegoat of Noor and actual police reform. Many people in the city have been living in the dark with regard to police violence, as she says, but the recognition this week that this is a human rights issue, not a black or an African issue, that's powerful, that's sad, and that is powerful. Well, okay. Damon's community is the kind of place that not only has a neighborhood association, but has one with subcommittees and active Facebook page. Since the shooting, some neighbors have committed to becoming more involved in police accountability and reform. Others had agreed to work on outreach to the Somali community. And days before she died, she thanked one neighbor for putting a demand. May have appreciated the activity, putting up a Black Lives Matter sign in the front yard. Since her death, these signs have cropped up in more yards in the Fullerton neighborhood. I think that anyone in this community was unaware that there are problems with policing in Minneapolis and many other parts of the country. This is from Richard Barbach, who is a European, before the meeting with neighbors in a home near Des Moines was killed, where she was killed. Sorry about that. But this event, this tragic loss, was close. So when you have something that is very close, this is by Janelle Ross. She covers social and political implications of the nation for the Washington Post. So this is published in the Washington Post. The business of that Midwest city is now out there for everyone to see. When you have a European face on the tragedy, about the only thing they could come up with was a loud hit. The first theory was fireworks. Now somebody tapped on the car, but they don't have any evidence of that. And they also had a search warrant to search Damon's house, no doubt to see if they could find any drugs, any, as they say in the euphemistic way, dirt available there. They evidently did not find anything, according to the search warrant filed with the court. And these are the kinds of things that we see more and more of across the U.S. At this mic, we had taken the position, and in many of the races out there, when they hear the word Black Lives Matter, which is evidently an advertising thing, there are two sides to it, pro and con. One, that obviously Black lives do matter, and the same that Black lives don't matter because the issue had to come up. That's, in other words, it's a diametric situation. From the police department, it doesn't matter. From the African community, it does matter. And now it's moved to the wider community. And this is what happens when we have these kinds of incidents of police violence. It moves beyond just being specific to one particular racial group or one typical economic group, socioeconomic group, and it moves to the middle class. And when it moves to the middle class, if we look at anything, surveys, etc., political activity, things get done because these people know how to organize and they have clout. And in the era of DJ Trump, they have appeal, as the friend of Mr. Castile said. They have privilege, and all those things that work together. So what basically starts to happen here, the police department and their supporters are outliners in this whole situation because it's not the proverbial opinion of a community. And once a community gets consolidated, then the people understand, the right-wing forces, that they are indeed a minority within the community. We've seen a similar coalescing around the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. But the majority of people, as the late great Jerry Pippin said time and time again, once they were acquainted with Obamacare, they would like it. They indeed do. And you have millions of people that are covered by it. Now we have calls from various people, Lamar Alexander for one, to work on a fix for the affordable care outlet to fix the insurance situation there. At this point in time, there's I think around $7 billion that is allocated, or would be allocated, to take care of people that can't afford insurance. I mean, it's a subsidy there. So to fix the Obamacare insurance portal or the coverage, that is more and more of a situation coming that has to be addressed, as the Senator McCain has said, from a bipartisan manner. Now, that is the way they used to do things. They're going to committees, and they will explore, as they did with the Obamacare, Affordable Care Act. It went before numerous committees. They had numerous testimony, evaluation. None of this fly-by-the-night, Star Chamber secret schemes that the Senate leader McConnell came up with. So there is some progress being made, and DJ Trump, his situation tends to be more and more in peril as things go along. Now, I'm not talking about his liberty situation. That's different. GOP tax package may be delayed. So, in other words, the Obamacare subsidies, appeals court could help preserve it. And so, in other words, these are just some of the things that are starting to happen. And one troubling thing here, we have David Ignatius. He's a writer for the Post, opinion columnist, whatever. Trump is right about China and North Korea. He's not right about that, but he would be right about that in terms of Wilsonian foreign policy. We have talked about that as racist bait. In fact, not only that, but the whole regime of these non-government organizations as they pertain to the various nations, 120 of them, in what is generically called Africa. As Jesse Jackson said, as far back as the 80s, if we have trade, we don't need aid. But these aid organizations are artificially there, and at the same time, they're coming forward with the same racist situation. There was an interview, and I forget who the lady was that wrote a recent book about NGOs in Africa, specifically talking about the game hunters there. People like, what's that guy, the sandwich shop character, Jimmy, who the hell he is, even DJ Trump's sons going out to hunt, quote-unquote, big game, and now these assholes are calling themselves conservationists. So what they're doing is they are unscrupulous characters are luring animals from reserves to private lands in Kenya and various other places. It is a complicated situation. Even the book glosses over some things. They talk about this lion that was killed. It was an old lion, no doubt about that. But it doesn't excuse the scumbag that shot the lion. Period. The scumbag was a dentist from the Midwest, I believe, or from maybe Florida and the Midwest, but he had a history of doing this sort of thing. And this is a throwback. It's anti-human. It's a violation of human rights because it's an extension. In other words, the preserves are located in places like Kenya and in Namibia and various other places, Zimbabwe, other places, using local customs and what have you that have not been updated to skirt what would normally be what's going on. Hallie Castor Jane did this interview. You can check her out on the animals. But this Jimmy, who the hell he is, a sandwich specialist, he's one of those people that specialize in, quote-unquote, the big lie. Let's move and do the sports as we move through the second half of the season. And no doubt we passed the trading deadlines. Trades were, in fact, made. And there will be some more before it's all over. There's another round coming. Florida Dynamics, the Red Sox reclaimed first place in an insane fashion. I have to look at this. When I tuned into the game, the Sox had already